Alright everyone, it's time to talk about Joe Biden again, because if you look at the link in the description of this video and take a look at this like 20-second clip of Joe, is this not a man who's goddamn completely fucking bananas? Is he not completely out to lunch? I don't know what to tell you, dude. It's one thing to occasionally make a verbal error. You know, Lord knows Trump does that on a fairly regular basis too, but this particular slew of word salad stopped making all sense within 3 seconds, and he sort of keeps going with it, which was weird. He was trying to describe how coronavirus kills so many people, and it's terrible, and whenever Biden says look, you know that he's about to segue from logic to emotion. If you've ever noticed that, it's one of his speaking quirks. I think it's probably, it's the lack of his ability to even go on script in some cases. But he repeatedly conflates years and deaths in this little diatribe here to the point of uselessness. Nobody can get any actual worthwhile communication out of it. And he's done this constantly. This is why Joe Biden, by and large, is a no-show, and sometimes people don't even pay attention to the conferences he does give. Nobody gives a fucking shit what Joe Biden has to say. His enthusiasm is in the crapper. Trump is spiking again right now. He's at 44.4 in the aggregate. He's almost half a point above where I think he needs to be before the first debate, and rising. That's partially due to a goddamn Emerson poll this time, showing him in the positive. 49-47, not even Rasmussen. I think this is the first time, in fact, that a poll other than Rasmussen has showed him in the positive range for, what, fucking 3 months, maybe 4. The Democrats are getting nervous. There's a reason that all of a sudden Joe Biden came out and unequivocally condemned political violence. Of course, without using the terms Antifa or BLM. Trump the other day, by the way, capitalizing upon this to explicitly state the truth that we all know, but nobody wants to say because they're afraid of political correctness. BLM is a Marxist organization. And they are. They're self-proclaimed Marxists, in fact. I'm not talking about the slogan, we're talking about the money-making, grifting group that uses ActBlue and helps bundle for the DNC. Joe Biden, even when he's got a script, or at least notes or something like that, even then the man cannot formulate a coherent statement. This is why I think he will get crushed in the debates. It's one thing to have grand sweeping ideas, which by and large Biden doesn't have, and he took some grand sweeping ideas from other people, normally the far left fringe like AOC, which isn't working well either, but you know, they're there. You can have the grand sweeping idea. You can have a really emotional bent. You tug on people's heartstrings, but if you can't get the point across, if you repeatedly stumble in your words, if you become incoherent and say things that people don't understand, like, you know, George Floyd's dad talking about Brussels sprouts, it destroys your opportunity to communicate effectively enough to make the hit land in a debate, to defend yourself against a hit. Trump had this problem against Hillary Clinton in 2016 a bit, because actually she was clearly, at least in the strategic sense, the better debater. But Trump won anyway, and there he certainly didn't have nearly as much of an enthusiasm gap to work with. It was a couple points he gained in the final polls. There's 6 extra points in the enthusiasm gap this year. You've got probably the worst public speaker you could possibly put up against Trump. A dude who can't run on his record without incensing the far left, and so won't. And so all he can do is spout vague platitudes and talk about how the other guy's done a bad job without ever creating any contrast. And he has this problem. Joe Biden has dementia. This is not a stutter. Part of this you can chalk up to a stutter. Well, he got the words mixed up, specifically related to the number of deaths and to the number of years. He interchanges the two. It doesn't matter, though. Again, regardless, say it's a stutter. Let's say we're all conspiracy theorists, and the fact that Joe frequently forgets where he is not evidence of dementia. It's somehow related to a stutter. It's clearly not, but we'll play devil's advocate. Is that going to exonerate him from a poor debate performance night after night? No, it's not. If he can't effectively communicate well enough to defend himself against Trump, who will go at him like a rape tape, I guarantee at this point, Trump's on the warpath right now. He's getting people amped up before the election. Biden's toast. I hate to say it, but Trump does not have a low ceiling. We've seen it. He rose up to 48 in the aggregated polling before he started taking attrition from the initial coronavirus fallout. He was up at 48. In fact, I think it was about 48.5. That is easily within election territory. That is easy to get to, and he's only like 3.5 points away from that right now. The Democrats cast Donald Trump off as the next Hitler. He's the more dumb cousin of Adolf Hitler, only 10 times as evil. He's killing grandma with viruses, and all these other crazy conspiracy crackpot theories that the DNC is force-feeding to its stupid fans. You've got all this weird shit going on, and yet Trump's doing halfway decent. In fact, again, similar to Obama at the same point in his presidency. And he got reelected. In fact, he got reelected in a fairly decent victory against Twit Romney, who might as well just switch to the Democratic Party regardless of the election results anyway. He's not doing himself any good by pretending to be a staunch Republican, a Lincoln Republican, the Lincoln Project sort of people. Now, Biden is literally insane. I love how the only counter to this, when you point it out, when you show this clip to a bunch of Biden fans, all they say is, well, Trump does this stuff too. He doesn't. He has problems communicating too. They're not related to dementia. We can look back 10 years ago when Trump was well outside of the age range for dementia. If he was having early onset dementia then, he'd already be dead by now. You realize that there's a certain timeline that Alzheimer's tends to follow. That wasn't the case back then, but he still had the same verbal issues. 10 years ago, Biden didn't. 10 years ago, Biden actually was one of the better speakers that we had seen. Sure, he said goofy things. Sure, he could be gawky and awkward sometimes, but he was a good speaker. When Joe Biden was vice president, not even 10 years ago, 5 years ago even, he was a good speaker. He is completely changed. Trump hasn't. Over the last 5 years, Trump has gone from the slightly coherent blowhard to the slightly coherent blowhard. He hasn't changed at all. Arguably 10 years. It's been a while. If you look at the speeches that he made like at CPAC many years ago, those are coherent because he got a teleprompter. But in any of the off-the-cuff sort of stuff that he did, he already had the same speaking style. Biden didn't. It has changed completely. Maybe it's due to brain damage from aneurysms. Okay, let's say it's not dementia. It's just aneurysm related. The surgery went a little screwy. A little bit of your white matter, unfortunately, is gone, or gray matter, whatever. Let's say that's okay. It doesn't matter. Because people are going to have to see him and Trump sparring. I give big advantage to Trump. In 2016, it was advantage Hillary Clinton. She was clearly the better off-the-cuff speaker. Of course, she had her own problems and her own mental problems and health issues as well, but she was not, it's not in the same zone as Biden. Not in the same league is he with Hillary Clinton. He's barely in the same league with Donald Trump. He's arguably the worst public speaker at the moment, other than maybe like Beto O'Rourke. It was funny because Beto came out and decided to stump for Joe Kennedy. You know, he's in that race where he's a little bit behind Garvey there. He's trying to knock off a far leftist in order to establish a more moderate platform there. And he's within striking distance, but he's struggling. Initially, it looked like it would be a wash and Joe Kennedy would crush the dude, but then Garvey came back with some of the far left Act Blue bundled BLM cash, probably. And Beto's now, he's endorsed him. For what that's worth, I'll 10 people that fucking care. It's funny when you try to do a Dem moderate platform, but you've got the dude who literally wanted to eliminate the southern border and ban all guns in the most explicit sense, stumping around for you. It's not a good look for Joe Kennedy, arguably enough. I think Garvey probably will end up winning re-election there. He's the incumbent. He's got a little advantage anyway. Joe Biden, meanwhile, oh my God. All his fans could do is deflect at this point. Oh, Biden said nothing about the rights. Well, neither did Trump. Oh, yeah, well, here's 10 examples of Trump saying stuff about the rights. Well, he didn't call out Patriot Prayer by name. Yeah, he didn't call out groups that arrived to defend innocent civilians. Meanwhile, the same thing is true when you point out, again, Biden's verbal gaffes, which are constant every single time he speaks. Well, Trump also makes mistakes. Yeah, so do I. Clearly not related to dementia, as is the case with Joe Biden. It's a big goddamn difference, and there are people that want this moron to have control over the nuclear codes. I think I'll pass on that one. That's about all. Peace out.